Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on good question, 18th, 2025, at approximately 9 p.m. PST. Now, I've made it my life's purpose to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I use to guide just about every decision I make. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of others with varying degrees of success, depending on their own personal efforts. Now, before we get into it tonight, we have Storm in the background making sure all the tech runs properly and keeping problem children out of the way. The biggest thing we have to realize is this stream has to remain safe for everybody, if at all possible. That said, problem children, before they become a problem, will be bounced. You'll still be able to listen in, but you won't be able to communicate and cause complications. I just frankly don't need them, and Storm is kind enough to make sure I don't get them. That said, we also have LA Moon in the room. Now, she's the one that usually helps try and keep the conversation going if it falls short. She is also one of the primary moderators to make sure that we don't have problems. Now, we have, before I get any further into it, Rachel Andrews, welcome aboard. You are in with the gold. Told you I'd be back today. Now, hopefully things are going well on your end. One of the biggest things that, like what we're looking at today, is getting your projects organized. Now, understand, I am personally, right now, I am concurrently writing, I think, 34 books. It might be more now. I keep adding to them. But I've got a few of them tied off. Renee Andrews, you are in with the silver. How's it going? Glad you could join us. Things are moving. Financially, I'm really looking at the issue of finally making headway. Okay, whereby I'll actually be able to survive. Kind of a bonus in my eyes. Well, actually, in my eyes, I argue the point. But I did tell a lot of people I'm not planning on dying anytime soon. I've already done enough of that. And it really does get redundant. But let's start with the obvious issue. Very few people have only one project on the go at a time. So here's what you do to start with. Don't worry about how you're going to get it all done at this point. Literally, if you haven't got a sheet of paper already, you might want to grab one. Sheet of paper, recording device, a notepad, whatever. Notepad is as in the electronic kind. But the big projects you have, the biggest one that I really find most people overlook is removing the clutter from your house. So we're just looking at the big picture. Okay, write down a list of big projects you've got. Now, for me, the biggest projects are, well, obviously the house is kind of an important thing, but I've also got literally a few dozen different writing projects going. And the whole catch to getting it done, because is first and foremost, write down the projects. Don't worry about breaking them down just yet. Write them down on a list. Okay. Now, I've mentioned before that I rely on the list method. And I'll tell you, it does work because most of these are complete. I don't expect you to read that, but there'll be a quiz later. But what you do have to realize is once you get them listed, now you take a look at them and go, okay, what is not working? Now, most people that I know of, their house is an absolute climb. I just about came out really, really badly. So let's back that up and call it an absolute mess. Okay, because the word that just about came out started with clustering. You get to figure out the rest. But you write down literally the big projects you've got. Once you've got the first ones that come to mind, and honestly, I recommend you stop, even with the big projects. Stop your list at 3, okay, and start working to rack them off. Now, one of the biggest projects, and it's taken a long time to get to it or to get it finished, that I'm working on, is this funny little Bible. I told my dad that I would read it cover to cover, and if you look at it, that orange tag is where I am on it, but it's a thick side that I've already read. Now, that said, Ryan, put your list down and you stop with 3. Okay. And the reason for that is because you can get real carried away with a project list. BLB. You can. There are a couple of ways of doing it. If you don't have it on a list, you can use your head and it'll still be a list. But it takes a little bit more focus, I find, if you don't write it down, because you'll get caught up and you'll see something else, and you may well find you get sidetracked. Now, it doesn't have to be on a list to start with. I'm talking about right now, because we're just going with the idea that you aren't organized as well as you'd like to be just yet. The neat part about it is you're starting from where you are. So as of right now, whether you've got a list doesn't matter. Start one. You get the 3 down. Now, once you hit the 3, now go to the first list, to the first item on the list, and figure it doesn't matter what it is. There is no necessity. There is no requirement to do things in a specific order. Although I would recommend that you undo the bolts from an engine before you yank the engine out of the car. There are certain things that just fall into a standard run. Now, the neat little part about it is by getting them onto a list, you can now break them down. Okay, so what I've done, for instance, one of the books I'm writing is, now I want to make sure I've got the actual right name here. Where are we here? We are working on numerology, an enhanced interpretation. Okay, now that particular book, and it really is a booklet, I've already got the backbone of it done. But what I've done is gone, okay, there's 12 numbers to work with. So, first on the list, I'm removing the blank, and it makes sense to me, but it's a color coding thing. So, I started off with writing out, I had to get it done. Then I broke it down. And I went, okay, take 4 numbers and remove the black writing, which, by the way, in this particular case, simply means it's duplicate writing that I found I had with it. Okay. Where are we here? So you start with that and then you break it down. So I did with that particular book, 4 numbers at a time. You finish off the 4, and this is how you avoid getting bored. Okay. I've got a number of other projects, not the least of which is this mess over here of file folders that has to be cleared. So again, it's a lot. So I go, okay, let's empty 5 of the file folders. This way I'm easing forward on 3 projects at the same time. The third project I had was the dishes up front. So, got them done out of the way. Again, it boils down to organization. Yeah, the neat part about it, where it comes to the list method, okay, in the booklet I'm writing, Believe in your success and Follow Your Dreams, I break down the list method a little bit more emphatically. Now, when I was actually taking business courses in high school, my business teacher had a brilliant way of putting it. Now, I modified it a little just to try and avoid being rude. But he said it was the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. Now, sadly, most of the kids in my class took the KISS method a little bit more personally and didn't get much done in the class. Now, we have, to start with, we had, well, I'm just going back up here. We had Rachel in with the gold, Renee in with the silver, BLB came in with the bronze, and this brings you, Eternity Eternal, in with honorable mention. Hopefully things are going well for you today. With keeping it simple. Okay, I changed it a little. I utilize it as keep it simple, silly. Okay. Now you can use other axioms that work with the letter S, especially if you have a special partner. Now, the biggest thing you got to remember with the whole idea of getting organized is you got to ask one question before you can even get started. Do you feel you're organized now? Because if you're already organized, it saves you a lot of hassles. Okay, but I will warn you, if you're going, oh, I'm organized, I go through this box and I pull it out, and I know where everything is. This is a great idea until you realize that sooner or later that method will buckle, in all likelihood. Now, you may luck out. My brother never had his system buckle. Of course, my brother had an IQ in excess of 180, so he might have had an upper hand. But once you start the process, literally while you're working away, you'll come across something in that project that says, oh, I gotta get this done. Okay, write it down. But you write it down underneath the last two. Okay, and because of the fact that you're cycling through things in order to avoid getting bored. Okay, it's a wonderful thing from my standpoint. I seldom get bored, so usually I have way too much on the go. But the real thing you have to look at is that when you're dealing with your life, if you're content with it, that is literally all that matters, providing you're not breaking karmic law and you're following the laws of the land in which you are. If you're doing those two things and you're content with the way your life is running, you don't have to change. Nobody, quite frankly, nobody really can change you. They can certainly make your life miserable enough for you to desire to change. But to get the projects running, start with 3. You undoubtedly have more than 3 to work with, but you start with 3 and then start working through them. This is why, when it comes to the number of writing projects I've got on the go, I've got where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6 right off the top that I'm cycling through. But the reason for that is because I frankly don't think I know how to do less. I keep trying to. I always end up with a list a mile long. But the thing is, I tend to get the parts on the list done before I pack it in for the end of the night. Okay, now, how do you pick which project to put priority on? That's the easy way. That's the easy question. Start with the first one that comes to mind. Okay, that one that first catches your attention is of primary concern. So you get started with that one. Then you start breaking things down and move on. But like I said, when I'm talking about this 15-minute rule, okay, each task, lay out 15 minutes for it. It'll avoid you getting bored. That was really poor English. But doing the job for only 15 minutes before you switch focus will avoid the boredom factor. Okay, as you get something marked as something completed, check it off. By the end of the day, you'll have a page that has a whole pile of check marks and stuff you've done. Okay, I'm wondering what I missed here. Oh, I've got a couple of things that I will get done when I'm done here. Okay, but I'll be out. Well, I don't know if I'll get them done tonight. Usually by the time 10 o'clock rolls around, I end up folding. Now, the one thing I keep trying to do is going, okay, you may not know how to move forward, and that is usually the biggest problem. This is why I repeat myself as much as I do. Okay, because most people do not, number one, they don't realize they don't know. Number two, even when they know they don't know how to move forward, we're taught it's a sign of weakness to ask for help. Okay, so I'm not bothering to wait for you to ask. I'm absolutely certain that 90% of you don't know how to move forward. Yeah, you'll sit there and say, I do so. And then you'll sit there and go, okay, I don't know where I'm heading with this. That's the one difference. I figured out what I was doing wrong. And now I should say ineffectively. It was wrong. But understand, I didn't know that it was being done. So I finally figured out how to prioritize things. Isn't that the truth? Oh, poetically mistaken. How are you doing? Glad you could join us. Poetically goes, a man once told me, only boring people get bored. I think creativity of some kind may be required. Well, on the plus side, I will tell you, I've never met someone that didn't have a creative approach. Even the laziest person on the planet has a creative streak in them. I mean, think of it. It's got to take a lot of work to find a way to avoid doing your job you're getting paid for and not get fired at the same time. Okay. And LA is just letting us know. I found most tasks are 15 minutes or less. And once you get started on them, you figure, what the heck, and finish them. Which I agree with for the most part. Unfortunately, I had procrastination down to a fine art. So I'd go, okay, I'm only a couple of minutes away from finishing, but I want to go do that. This is why it's not a question of motivation to get things done. It's a question of, it really is, no, that's not right. It's not a question of having the drive to get them done. It's the focus. Okay. And what we have to look at, and this literally boils down to, are you happy with your life? If you are, my guess is you're not here. Okay. 90% of people I know of, or probably more, are not content with their current lot in life. But we've been taught so strongly, quite seriously for generations, that it's bad to ask for help. Okay. That it has now become a global pandemic. Christine, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Hopefully your day went well. What we have to realize is, number one, you're not here on the planet alone. So there's nothing off kilter with asking for assistance now and then. Thing is, Storm, I actually tried to join a procrastinators support group, but they kept postponing the date, so we never really did get it started. From my end, one of the biggest things, there is another cause. Okay, there is another cause for procrastination. Not so much trauma, so much as fear of success. Because I will tell you, you get the clutter moved out of your room, especially out of the office. You get the clutter out of the way, and all of a sudden you've got a faster thinking mind, faster processing, more motivation, more energy. Okay, the list goes on. But this is why I say unclutter the brainchild of your home or office, which happens to be the office itself of your home or business. It happens to be the office itself. Now, in my case, I've got 15 feet, 10, if you count all the way. I'm curious at this point. It's 10 feet, 11 and a half. Oh, my, yeah, 11 and a half feet, plus a little. They go all the way to the back of that shelf. Yep, that's why the 15. And if you count the other shelf, the inventory shelves, I've got essentially about 20 feet of office desk that no longer has clutter on it. Okay, but it's like trying to operate a river. Where are we? Poetically goes, I heard it described as men are conditioned to believe asking for help burdens someone else. And if a man likes you, he wouldn't wish to burden you. Yeah. In a nutshell, and I've seen this taught by a lot of people, usually men. And unfortunately, it's quite often passed on father to son. Okay. We're taught that asking for help is a sign of weakness. I can do it myself. Well, this is a great idea. Doesn't work worth a hoot, but it's a great idea. But what we have to realize is that men, like women, and that can be taken in a lot of ways, but not for everybody. Anyway, men do require, they require assistance just like women do. Different areas, but we have to realize that we are not on this planet alone. And this is why I said, working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, yes, there are those people that go, but I'm a better person than you are, so I should have more rights. You still breathe the same air, and you're still going to pass out if that air is cut off for too long. The thing we have to realize when you're getting organized, you organize starting with the biggest problem first. What is the big project? Okay, now if I look at this, what if I've got it open? Okay, I have now the numerology, an enhanced interpretation, is at present 15 pages long, but the backbone is already written on it. Okay, so I've got it broken down. It'll take probably 2 days to finish going through what I have to, and then write the forward to it. Okay, but you take a big project, go, I've got to get this done. Now I will warn you, if that project is, for instance, to clear your living room. Okay, now the neat part is, when I wrote this book, I literally put that particular example in the book. That's believe in yourself and follow your dreams. When you're looking at organizing yourself, it boils down to asking one question first. Do you know how to organize yourself? Do you even have a remote idea? If you do, this is fantastic. And there's a lot of books out there that'll tell you how to do it. Okay. I just have a tendency of keeping things very simple. Once you got your first 3 projects, that's where you start. Do your best to get at least, get one of them tied off before you add another project. Remember, all the projects around the house or around the office are frankly still going to be there in a week or two. And the reason I say that is there's very few people that will actually come in and do your job for you. And certainly not the way you'd like. Okay. The one thing we got to remember, especially for those of you that spend a lot of time uttering positive affirmations or praying. Okay. Now, I'm not going to tell you don't pray. I'll tell you right now it helps. But when it all boils down to the brass tacks, you're still going to have to get up and do it yourself. That's just the reality behind it. And now what we're working on is getting you started. Now, clearly, I'm not in your house. Okay, in all likelihood, I don't even know where you live. Even with Storm in LA, I've been to their place. I couldn't find it if you paid me to because of a lot of factors. In your world, take where we got here. LA goes, we run things as a team and everyone has their jobs. One of us is in charge and directs traffic. We have family members who need more direction than others. Absolutely. And virtually every family has that problem. Now, here's a key that my parents used. I never saw them ever. I never even heard them argue. 60 years under one roof. 5 of it in a 26-foot camper. But they split up really nicely. Dad had control of the outside. Mom had control of the inside. And they would simply make the rules. And then if one of us kids came to them, or one of the adults, and said, we're inside, and they went to Dad and went, can I do this? Dad would look at them and at us and go, well, did you ask Mom? Well, no. Well, then go and ask her. Or if we come back with, well, yeah, I asked Mom. And what did she say? Well, she said no. Well, then why are you asking me? You're not doing it. Now, this is the simplest way we did it, when I grew up. In my case, I'm looking at your project because you're the only one that controls it. Okay, and it really boils down to deciding where do you start? Well, where you start, for lack of a better way, is literally wherever you work on your finances. That's where you start. Okay, get all the clutter off the desk. Okay, so that you can get it cleared out of the way. Yeah, I'm sure you guys recognize these. Okay, I got a whole bunch of these little things that I've got to go through one at a time to figure out just exactly how much duplicate information I've got. But it's got to be done one at a time. The key to getting your projects done is organization. And that boils down to whether you use the list method or you simply go, I know this has to be done, so I'm going to use my stubborn streak and I'm going to complete this project. You can do that. Okay. But I will caution you, in all fairness, from what I've seen, LA goes, it works. The director keeps the juggling in the air. No doubt. And ironically, I'm going to overheat. But I also know why. So I'm just coming over here to go behind my hidden panel. And turn thermostat down. I always wanted secret panels to move out of the way. The thing we have to remember is you're the one that has to do the work. Okay, yeah, you may be the coordinator, and therefore you're going, you do this, you do that. Ultimately, it's running a household, running a business is a coordinated effort. And that's the biggest thing we have to look at. And I do believe, yep, it's got to be a coordinated effort. Now, let me ask you this, and it really boils down to your guys' observation. The office is, without a shadow of a doubt, the most important room to get the clutter out of the area ASAP, where it comes to thinking. But there is a secondary room that's got to be cleared as quickly as possible. Aside from the office regarding thinking, what is the most important room in your eyes to actually make sure you stay healthy, to get it cleared, to get the clutter out of it? Anybody got a suggestion? Because I will tell you, I'm not going to leave it sit for long. I'm not going to go, I'll tell you next week. To make a cliffhanger, I'll tell you how to straighten out your life, but you send me $10,000 first. That is not the way this works. I would say that's a really good idea, but there's a better one. LA has suggested the kitchen. Now, here's the neat part. The kitchen is part of the three-chambered room, of the three-chambered heart of a business or of a house. Now, that being said, the most important one, as near as I've come to understand it, is your bedroom. Okay? Because if your bedroom is cluttered, you're not going to sleep properly. Now, you may be one of the rare ones that can, but I'm talking about what I've discovered based on over 100,000 clients. Okay? What I found is if people do not relax, okay, they're not going to be able to function properly. But, and this is one of the reasons why when I started putting together, where is it? Chakras. There. Chakras, an enhanced perspective. Okay. Now I've been asked, why don't I work with Reiki masters? Well, the reality is this. Reiki masters, first and foremost, most of them work with 7. The better ones work with 9. In chakras and enhanced perspective, okay, literally I have identified 49, I think it's 49, might only be 39, major chakras, as well as the chakras in a home or business. Okay, this is information that nobody seems to be hanging on to. But if you clear out the kitchen, this is great. You can cook much more nutritiously. But if you're not getting a chance to wind down and to actually relax, which is what the bedroom is for, okay, yes, it's for other things as well, but you guys can sort that out. Now you'll be happy to know. Well, maybe it won't be. In the Positive Perspectives magazine, I do have the point form breakdown of the chakras, and I will be adding those to it. I will be filling in one each month until they're done. And yeah, I'm pretty certain I got 39. Wonder what happens if I open that. Chakras. There. Oh, that's nice. I don't have numbers down yet. So that's okay. But I do have not only the house laid out, but like I've got the primary chakras laid out and the house. Now, that is correct, LA. Get the office done first, then the bedroom. From there, there's all kinds of variables you can use. Okay. But to get organized, you've got to have your brain working. Okay. And with the office being cluttered, you're not going to be thinking as clearly as you can. Now, whatever you do not just take my word for it. If you haven't done this, if you haven't already reorganized it, get it done and then assess the success of it. This is why I say don't just take my word for it. Do your own research. Okay. Some things absolutely learn by watching what somebody else did. Okay. Lord knows I wish I had learned when I watched, wish I had actually watched somebody else do it before I did. But I did find out something. Putting your finger in a light bulb socket without turning off the power is a bad idea. A very bad idea. Although it does have a tendency of lighting you up. Now, one of the things that we have to realize, the organization side of it only starts on paper. All the planning in the world is virtually 100% useless if you don't get up and do the physical work. And I hate to be the one to pop some of your bubbles, but praying doesn't make it happen. Praying itself, praying positive affirmations, wishful thinking, hoping, they all do the same thing. You're passing the buck to somebody else. Okay, this doesn't work well. So think of this. Most of you, when you get up in the morning, who puts your shoes and socks on? I'm betting you don't have a team of support workers coming in to get you dressed. Yeah, poetically mistaken. She goes, oh, or peeing on an electric fence. I'm telling you, that's a bad idea. A friend of mine actually got his cousin to do that. But you are right. If you watch somebody do that, you really got one or two factors. Why did they do it, and why are you watching? Yeah, Ellie goes, it's an energizing experience. Oh yeah, it'll get your heart moving really quick. Unfortunately, it can also stop it, which isn't always a bad thing in my eyes. But then I've been there. So realistically, pick 3 jobs, 3 projects that you really desire to get done. And you'll find this happens quite regularly with me. That 3 factor. Okay, that's because the number 3 is the number of creativity. And it's that number that brings the energy to help you manage this. But you're still going to have to be the one to get your feet off the coffee table and your tail feathers off the couch and make it happen. The nice part is once it starts to move forward and you feel the energy coming back, it will encourage you to do more. This is why I'm now actually making a lot more headway. Okay, one thing to keep in mind, you have to be willing to put the negative past to rest. If you're enjoying running around your house like a chicken with your head cut off, keep at it. I'm not the one to tell you this is a good or a bad thing. I will tell you it's a thing. But it is time for each and every one of us to really get things on laid out and go, okay, what do I have to get done? Now, what is that? Oh. Yeah, and he goes, try being chased by a bull in a wet pasture and hitting an electric fence. The bull wasn't interested in continuing. Now, that either means he didn't like the feel of it or he dropped dead and just couldn't carry on. And yes, I've seen that happen even with low-grade electric fence. But no, the nice part about it is sometimes people learn. Not often, I'm afraid, but it does happen sometimes. Okay, now, again, work on 3 projects at a time. Okay, those projects can be broken down an incredible amount. Like if you look behind me, okay, the drawers up on the top there. Now, I can look at the drawers and go, those need to be sorted out. But I do them 5, then 4, then 4, then the other 5. That way, that's how I did do them. Now I don't have to. But in that fashion, it gives you a quantifiable path by which you can gauge whether you're getting anything done. And therein lies the ultimate challenge. The question you got to ask is, are you content with the way your life is right now? So many of us have projects that we put behind us that we just postpone. Now, this one here, this is a project I had to give up 4 years ago, 6 years ago. Okay. This particular project, I'm not going to dig it out, but this is a queen-size quilt. Only when I had my stroke, I could no longer work with my left hand. That made a problem. So what we've got to take a look at is, are you ready? Now, apparently that is causing me a problem. Are you ready to start a new life in a more productive fashion? Or are you still stuck with this idea of, but it's so much work, I don't really feel like doing it? No problem. Off your work until the end of the days. It really isn't going to be a big problem for me. But until you get off your tail, you're going to find your life doesn't change a whole lot. Okay. Now, that said, in your case, when you're looking at the world, here's a couple of reasons you won't desire to do it, or you'll choose not to. 1, way too big of a job. No doubt. But there's an old African proverb that goes, how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. Okay. When I set out to read this book, there are, now, number 1, I don't read long books usually. But when I set out to read it, thank you very much, LA. It has about 1,300 pages in it. Okay. Now, that said, I was not capable of sitting down and reading all 1,300 pages, one after the other, right away. Okay. So what I ended up doing was I'm reading 3 pages a day. Okay. Here I am a number of months later, and I've gone through 700 out of 13. Okay. Maybe a little more than 700. I'm not honestly certain. Although I can find out real quick. Yep. 729. But you break your project down into smaller jobs. Blue Cruz, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You break the projects down, because by doing that, well, here's the way it works. Let's say a project is going to take you 2 hours, okay, to get it finished front to back. By breaking it down into 15-minute projects, let's say you only get one item done. You've got that done. Now you don't have to find 2 hours to work. You only need, you only require an hour and a half ish to complete. Easier to find that much time. And then you carry on. The same applies for the rest of them. But if you get scattered too thin, what'll happen is exactly what happened to me. And this is why I'm warning you. It's also how I came across the concept to be able to warn you. Okay, if you've got too many projects on the go at the same time, you're not going to see appreciable movement in any of them. And that could demotivate you. I think that's a word. So the question you really have to look at is, in today's world, right here, right now, are you content with the way your life is shaping up? Okay, if the answer is yes, this is fantastic. In all likelihood, the answer is no. There's something in your life you're not content with. Okay, and that is why you get started on things. One step at a time. Absolutely ask the people around you for assistance. The thing we have to remember is that changing your life is not going to happen like that. Okay, not in most cases. Now, unfortunately, some people have their life changed that fast. Okay, but now's the time to lay it out and get up and make the changes happen. Do not continue waiting for the government, the industry moguls, your pastor. Don't wait for anybody to change your life. That is your right and your task. But if you're happy the way you are, by all means. For me, I'm not. So I'm opening doors to be able to function with them. Okay. Yeah, LA goes overscheduling can mess you up big time. Absolutely it can. This is why I came to the understanding. The theory of relativity that Einstein tried to put forth was not a mathematical equation, but it was 1 plus 1 equals 3. Now, it makes a lot of sense, and one day maybe I'll go into it. But I will tell you, for you to change your life, get the job started and start making progress. I'm cautioning you, don't tangle with more than 3 items. Okay? Because the moment you get to a 4th one, you're in trouble. Okay? So, when I look at this, what do we got here? I'm just looking at my list for what I was working on. So, if I take a look at chakra and get it completed, take a look. Oh, look at that, I got 2. Take a look at that. We also do the numerology one. Now, these are ones that I'm working on. Okay, both of those are coming along quickly. And then, of course, I've got to make sure that I get positive perspectives April done. Now, right there, I've got 3 main projects, all of which have to be completed and are not as long as they might seem. It's going to be like, because I've got those 3, there's other things I've got to get done as well, same as you will. Major projects are one thing. Something else to keep in mind, and most people don't get taught this today. if your house is absolutely a disaster. As in too much clutter, too much going on. It is up to you to alter that. And yes, you can do that quite easily. Okay. But it boils down to putting something down so you can look at it. Now, I just went to my October because I use a desktop calendar. I just went to October and made a note at the beginning of it to call an advertising company that actually was doing what they were supposed to. Okay. And I've got a note to myself to be able to, so when I get to October, I'll open it up and go, there it is. Make the call. Okay. Now, I will tell you it's a very big temptation to avoid doing the little minor things because they're boring. They don't have a lot of pizzazz and they don't bring a lot of success to people. But by organizing and going, this is what I'm working on, it will keep you motivated and permit you to complete the projects you got. Now, I was given the option of just putting everything aside and not learning. Now I've done that most of my life, avoided things, and subsequently ended up not dealing with this world well. Where it comes to organizing your projects, identify them first. Now, let's say, just for an example, your project is you'd like to have a brand new wardrobe. In today's world, it's not very easy to buy a complete wardrobe. Okay, so break it down and make sure you start listing off what you require. That way, when you get them done, you're able to sit back and go, I got that task accomplished. I finished that goal. I'll tell you, completing a goal has a phenomenal sense of accomplishment attached to it. Most people don't realize this. Now, the other nice little part of it is as you get the project sorted out. For me, the office clutter is a real big issue. But I finished with it. This is why I've moved on to new things. Okay, and even this in these drawers over here. Well, I've got the top done. Now this shelf here, I've got to get it cleared. But that boils down to figuring out where, by doing it one step at a time. And of course, when we look at this one, when we look at this shelf, I've got, what is this, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6 actual metal baskets, metal file traps that I can clear out one at a time in order to prove to myself that I've got clear progress. Where are we here? Blue Cruise goes, I'm using a comfortable cosmic office that fits better inside my Blue Cruiser over my Jettison couch for safety reasons. And that's just it. Where your office is, that's up to you. Okay, but absolutely make the effort to clear it. The other thing is, and I've included this again, what I did with the April edition is I've got a list of words that will help you get organized as well, because they change the energy in what you're putting out. But again, it only works if you use the tool. The best tool in the world is absolutely useless if you don't put it to work. Okay, the other thing I found was really neat. The best consultant in the world is absolutely useless if you can't find them. Now, let me ask you this. Regarding who knows you, who is the best consultant that you can talk to, that you figure knows you better than anybody. Yeah, LA's going, I like go on my couch and have a chair. Found the couch was way too tempting and had too much to do. Oh yeah. Like I've got a love seat. Sooner or later I'll get rid of it. But for the moment, not gonna happen. LA goes a smart and healthy choice or decision. Oh, sorry. Blue Cruise says that to LA. See, I didn't say I can read everything properly. The neat part about it is once you start getting things out of the way, it's absolutely clear. And I just noticed, thank you very much for putting that up there, Storm. We do have to make an adjustment to that because now the newsletter actually has a cover, a magazine cover. It's got the cover, it's got the index, and the catalog in the back. So we're going to have to change that, if you'd be kind enough, to a free magazine. Frankly, it sounds better in a lot of ways too. And I see we are down to the 5-minute mark. So with that said, okay, we will be back on Friday. Okay. But, and of course, I don't think I did lay that out, did I? I did not. I'm still behind the 8 ball here. So, that will be a project for tonight. But we will be back again on Friday. Today, I'm going to say we are down to the 5-minute mark. So I'm going to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with us tonight. I do appreciate it. And I absolutely hope that this has helped. If you've got extra questions, absolutely drop me a line. Storm, thank you so much for that. Absolutely drop me a line. The link at the top of the stream, buymeacoffee.com/innervoiceJ, gets you to everything. That said, I will be back again. Today is Tuesday, so we'll be back again on Friday. Friday at about 4:30, I'm coming on with a day in the office. That will be episode 14. And then at 9 o'clock that night, we will be back with positive perceptions. Until then, do take care of yourself.